pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyways, today, what we get to tonight, Simon, or tomorrow's daf is right up your alley.
If it's about
Dead babies and
if
Shabbos?
it's about dead babies,
It's not about dead babies, no.
Aw.
I can only handle so much, Yaakov, you know, like
Yeah, it's not about dead babies. Although it came up this morning in the morning shir. And
dead babies?
We mentioned your name, yes.
I don't even know how this actually got started. This is like maybe 2 conversations in total. And
Okay, that's fine.
All of a sudden I'm anti-dead babies, you know?
Well, I mean,
thought
I
you were
think we're all
pro-dead babies.
anti-dead babies. I would say we're all anti. I would hope.
I moved out of New York, I became a liberal, what? Not my state, baby.
You were anti putting live babies on dead people. That was the issue.
Yeah, Simon, you were freaking out about it. That's why we have such an
I
issue with you
wasn't
with
freaking
babies.
out. I was trying to have a car. I just have a
Simon.
question in there.
No, Simon,
Simon,
you were
if-
freaking out. Simon.
much like Avi Khan, where there's like Gingy there, and there's passion. It's passionate.
You bringing them into it. What is it?
Well, I just figured that there can only be 2 Gingis that are losing their hair on a shear, and like I was already here first, you know. Big guys too.
Wow. I was about to say I have your back, we'll stick together, but now you're about to eject me. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't even know. This is brown, baby. This is brown. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. But anyways, no, tomorrow's daf asks, how did all the rabbis know all this information? That's basically his kasha. How did they know when the seeds grow and when they don't grow? That's
It's the same concept, right? Like I'm assuming like the Rosh Hashiva and Gavriel Biggio. Whenever something comes in with like fish and animals, the Rosh Hashiva used to like go straight to Gavriel, from what I was told. So like I'm assuming they either had farming friends that they went to, or they learned about agriculture. I mean, that was their society, right?
Yeah.
It was much more of a dover you do at the time to know how to grow things than not.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Did they all have professions?
Well, back then?
Yeah, like we know that Rashi and the Tosfos and the Rambam, they all had professions. Did it go back to the Amoraim as well?
Yeah, sure. Even the Tanoim, yeah, they had a Rabbi Yochanan, a sandler. He was a sandler. Sure, they had. It seems like there's many. We've had many Gemaras, I think. No, that they had jobs. Now, how they function that way, I don't know. How they become such big.
That might explain why they're experts in certain things.
In agriculture, yeah, that could be. Yeah. So, but
isn't it a bigger bazillion to say that they had jobs than that they knew science?
Why?
That's only if you're in Cherem.
I'll say it's bigger lashon hara to say about a rabbi that he has a job. That's a
well now, yeah. In today's
right.
climate, yeah. But anyway, they shut him down. So they shut him down. When we'll see the Gemara. What?
They shut a lot of guys down.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So we got a minion. We can roll. Today, so we already did half an hour, really. Oh, 1 second. What's with the fight? With what time tomorrow? 5:15. 5:15 works. Was that too late?
I don't know.
I hear every Friday I miss Andy Gladstone.
No, last week you cut it really close.
I mean, every week we cut it close. The siren goes off.
Listen.
And then we wait 5 minutes.
Even the Moyle was nervous.
I'm saying we kind of close every week.
So we should
That's
do
why
it
Siakam
earlier.
davens and sulas.
That's
I didn't
right.
say that. We're still going to cut it close even if we start earlier.
Yeah. Okay, well, tonight, hopefully, we'll do a little bit of tomorrow's stuff. So I guess we got to wait for the clocks to change, and then I don't know. Okay, so let's call for 5:10. That's all. Let's call for 5:10. What time is Shkia? 6? What time is Shkia?
Here is 6:04.
Oh, it's pretty late. Okay. So I think let's go for 5:15. Let's go for 5:15. Okay, 5:15. Aaron Kaplan's there. Is he on?
No.
He
Oh,
was on.
yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
he pop on. All right. 5:15.
Kaplan, put it on.
All right. Okay, so let's go. Ulu Yerakas, right? That's what we got up to. Yes, right? We got up to Ulu Yerakas. Yeah. So now the next thing in the Mishnah says that what another Rosh Hashanah for Tishrei is for vegetables. Now, what exactly does that mean for vegetables? So it means that you take the maaser for vegetables has to be done by Tishrei, meaning if you pick the vegetables before Tishrei, and we're going to be focusing on this agriculture for the next couple of daf, right? But you pick the vegetables before Rosh Chodesh, then that goes under the maaser from the previous year. And if you pick it after Rosh Chodesh, meaning after Rosh Hashanah, then it's going to go for maaser on the next year. Right? So we learned in a braysa for vegetables and to maasros and for nedarim, meaning Tishrei is the Rosh Hashanah for Yerakas, maasros, and nedarim. Now that seems to be redundant because we're saying that Yerakas, vegetables, means for maaser, and then it says ula maasros, right? And then nedarim. So what does it mean? Yeah. So the Gemara answers Yerakas. What does it mean, Yerakas? Maaser yerek, maaser of vegetables. So the Gemara says, Hainu maasros. That's maasros, right? It's the same thing. Saying Yerakas and maasros is the exact same thing. So the Gemara answers, Tana de Rabanan, V'Katani de Raisa. No, there are some that are de Rabanan, and there are some that are de Raisa. Meaning, not all chumas and maasros not all vegetables and fruits need chumas and maasros from the Torah. Now, this is a big machlokas rishonim of exactly which fruits and vegetables require chumas and maaser to be taken off of, right? So most hold that it's only on grain and olives and grapes. Everything else, all other fruits and vegetables are derabanan, right? And then some hold that's olives, not grapes, this and that. Some hold fruits, all fruits, yes, vegetables, no. It seems like though I think it's pretty much across the board that vegetables are derabanan, right? But and the fruits are deraisa, vegetables derabanan. But it seems like vegetables for sure are derabanan. So anyway, so the Gemara says Tana derabanan v'Katani deraisa. So when it says Yerakas, so that's going to mean derabanan, and when it says maasros, that's going to be deraisa. Okay, so then Velisni deraisa bereishit. Don't you think that you should teach the deraisas before the rabbanans? So the one answers, I did the chavivale aktima, since the rabbanan is more love to him, right? Because the rabbanan made it up, so therefore it goes first. Which I can't say I understand that exactly, but meaning since the rabbanan made it up themselves, so therefore they would prefer for it to go first, as opposed before putting their din before the Torah din, right? I didn't clearly understand that, right?
Isn't it similar to how in Bab Metzia? I asked you the midrasha chavivule.
Yeah, but that's a little different. Because if you're saying a vart, you want to say a vart, so you want to say your own vart over first. Truth is maybe not. Why should you say your vart over before the Torah, before the deraisa? Okay, whatever it is, but that's what it is. So since it's more love, so he's going to say the Rabanan first. The Tanadi done, and our Mishnah Tana de Rabanan, braysa. Right? Right. So our Mishnah only says Yerakas. It doesn't say like the braysa Yerakas and maaser. So it says a Rabanan, and of course it means goes without saying that it means a braysa. Right? Fine. Yeah. The listening maaser. So why don't you just say maaser? Right? Meaning, why does it say maasros plural? Right? What's maasros? So we say echad maaser behemoth, echad maaser dagan. No, it's talking about maaser of the animal, right? We have maaser behemoth, and we also have maaser of dagan. Yeah. So that's why it says maasros plural. The listening yerek. Why do you say yerakos? Why not just say vegetable? Trey gavni yerek, because there's two types of vegetables. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishna, yerek hanegad, vegetables that normally get sold when they get wrapped up. I guess like radishes, right? Radishes they sell wrapped up. I'm just talking about today. I don't know how they did it back then, obviously. And what else? David gets scallions.
I mean, like in bunches.
In bunches, yeah. So things that get sold like that. So when is it chayiv? Right? We know that it's not considered maaser. Like when can you snack on it? You could snack on it until it's put into bunches. So there's vegetables that get put into bunches, and then you're allowed to snack on it until, let's say, the scallions. So the scallions, you can snack on it until you put it into the bundle. The sheni neged, and what about the vegetables that don't get bundled? Misha yamala yes a kli, when you fill up a kli. So when you fill up a kli, then it's then that's when it's no longer considered temporary, then it becomes permanent. Fine. Torah. So we learn in the braysa. Likud Yerek Erev Rosh Hashanah, Achalei Tovei HaShemesh. Here, the literal translation is till the Shemesh comes. But what it means is if you picked vegetables Erev Rosh Hashanah before the sun set, right? The Chazav Likud, meaning so on Erev Rosh Hashanah, you got it in. We said that Rosh Hashanah is the cutoff. So you got it in, and you cut off you cut the vegetables before Rosh Hashanah, so that's going to go on to the maaser from last year. Then you went Chazav Likud, and then you went and cut more vegetables after the sun came, meaning after the sun went down. So then ain tarman or maaser mizal, you can't use true and maaser from this one to this one. Ain tarman or maaser loymin achadash ala yasham, loymin hayasham ala chadash. You can't give chumas and maaser not from the new crops on the old crops, meaning from last year, and not on the old from the new. Right? So the obvious question here is, who's picking crops on Rosh Hashanah by night? I mean, we've had this question a lot. Why are they not in shul? Right? It seems like there's a lot of stuff going on Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. Well, why are they not in shul? But okay, forget about shul. It's also braysa. It's also braysa to pick vegetables on Rosh Hashanah. So Tosfos answers. The top Tosfos says in the Yerushalmi, it says it's all about a guy who picked it for you. Which I can't say I understand that either, because a guy is not allowed to do malacha for you on Shabbos or on Yom Tov. So unless maybe he was a sharecropper, he's working for himself, maybe, I don't know, whatever it is, but that's what Tosfos says. Fine. Then, okay, let's go back into the Gemara. Im Haisa, with 3 lines down from the top on Yud Beis Amud Beis. Yeah. So Im Haisa Shnia Nichnesa.
The sharecropper would be mechuyev and trumas and maaser.
Why not? It's owned by the.
He's doing it for you.
You own the. Well, it would probably depend on how it's
structured.
How it's structured, correct. But I would assume that if he's the owner and you're just paying the guy based on what, meaning if he's working for himself, then it's allowed. Right. So if you structure it.
You tell the guy, I want you to pick the field. You tell it to him Erev Rosh Hashanah in the morning, and he could do it whenever he wants. Right.
Right, but the
job.
Right, so that would be a good shot. Except we don't normally allow that in the reshus of a yid because of what do you call it? Because of Marasayan. But it could be that you're right that it's talking about a town where everybody works it like that. So then there's no. Yeah, So that's meaning if that's the derech in the town to do it that way, so then that's the way it goes. So then nobody's going to be chayshed that he's working for the
What
yid.
are you saying? If this is a sharecrop, what is it? Who owns the land?
The yid owns the land, but the guy is working for himself because he knows that he gets a percentage. He gets a percentage. So he's working for himself because he wants that percentage. Right? That's we're not getting involved, parents, with the whole nursing home, right? Who are all the nursing home guys on here? How they're working it with Shabbos, right?
How do they work on it in Shabbos?
Oh, you want
this has been many of the discussion. This has been many of the discussion.
When we get up to Mesepta's healthcare, we'll get into it.
My answer.
Listen, basically, Zev, the two ways to do it. The legitimate way to do it is to taka, give it to a guy, and let him take all the profits for Shabbos. That's the legitimate way, right? But for some reason, in the healthcare system, there seems to be like, what? I should lose profit of seventh day? What? Well, every other business shuts down for Shabbos, so why should healthcare be able to stay open with shtick, right? Right? I mean, no grocery stores open with the shtick, but okay. But for some reason, healthcare, obviously, they have to stay open, so that's a pshat. So the real way to do it is to give it all away to a guy. But if not, in lieu of his taking the seventh day, so some swap it, meaning he takes the seventh day profit and the yid takes the whole Sunday. That's where some do it. Others do it where in lieu of the profits, you give the guy $100 or something, whatever amount of money you give him. And he says, okay, I'll take a set fee and I'm getting it regardless of how much money the home makes. Okay, whatever. That's not that we're into agriculture here now. So anyway, so 3 lines down. So if it's the second year of the shmitta cycle, going into the 3rd year, right? So shniya, maaser rishon, or maaser sheni. In the 2nd year, you have to give maaser rishon and maaser sheni. Meaning maaser sheni is that maaser rishon goes to the late trumas every year, right? Excuse me. Truma goes first. Then maaser goes to the Levi. Maaser Rishon goes to the Levi, and then that's also every year. Maaser Sheni, and then on the 3rd and the 6th year, it's called Maaser Ani. That the Maaser goes to the Ani. 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th years of the Shemitah cycle, it's Maaser Sheni, which means you got to take it up to Yerushalayim, right? The 3rd and the 6th year goes to the Aniyah. Yeah, so there's a big difference if these vegetables were picked before Rosh Hashanah on the 2nd year going into the 3rd year, it's going to make a big difference who gets these vegetables, right? So the Aniyim are going to be pushing for you to wait till after Rosh Hashanah to pick the vegetables. Like this, they'll get more. Yeah, so whatever it is. So again, so if it's the 2nd going into the 3rd, it's going to make a difference that way. So I'll just read it again. If it's the 2nd going into the 3rd, so shniya maaser rishon or maaser sheni. The 2nd year will have maaser rishon, maaser sheni. Shlishis is maaser rishon or maaser ani, meaning maaser sheni and maaser ani get interchanged. So minani, how do you know that it's maaser rishon, maaser ani? Meaning, the Gemara is going to ask now because the pasuk seems like you can't have 2 maasers in the same year, right? Meaning you can't have maaser ani and maaser and one other maaser. But which one is it? Is it maaser sheni that you don't have to give, or maybe it's the maaser rishon that goes to the Levi that you shouldn't give, right? So the Gemara is going to explain that. How do you know? So I'm going to B'shuma Levi. B'shuma Levi says, "Kisachala la'aser is called maaser to also hashana shlishis shnasa maaser." Right? So the pasuk in Devarim says that when you finish giving your maaser, b'shana in the 3rd year and the year of maaser. So there's a couple of maasers going on in this pasuk. So shana she'ein ba ela maaser echad. When do you give 1 maaser, right? And a year that there's only one. It's only when there's only 1 maaser. What does it mean? Haketzad, maaser rishon or maaser ani. If you have maaser rishon or maaser ani, then maaser sheni yivatel. Then maaser sheni is going to be null and void for that year, right? Or maybe it's the other way. Maybe they should also get rid of maaser sheni, and then all you should have is maaser ani. So Talmud Leimer, the pasuk says, excuse me. You should speak to the Leviim of Marto Alehem ki sikhu me'es b'nei Yisrael as maaser asher nasati lochem me'itam b'nachal lasem. Right? When they come to take their maaser from you as from your inheritance. So ikishu akasul lenachla. The Gemara, the pasuk is comparing giving maaser to inheritance. Man nachla ein lo hefsek. So just like inheritance, there's no hefsek. Af maaser rishon ein lo hefsek. So maaser rishon also doesn't have hefsek. Now, what does it mean that inheritance doesn't have a hefsek? Everybody, other than a ger, has somebody to inherit them. Right? Meaning, if somebody doesn't have, if a father dies without kids, so then it's going to be the brothers, and if it's not the brothers, then it's going to be the cut. There's somebody down the road somebody's going to be inherited. It has to be, right? Unless there's nobody left in the world, right? So it's just like inheritance never ends. So too, maaser rishon never ends. Meaning, maaser rishon is non-negotiable. You always have to give the maaser to the Levi. And the only things that adjust are the maaser ani gets swapped out again in the 3rd and the 6th year. We swap out maaser ani for we swap out maaser sheni for maaser ani in the 3rd and the 6th year of the shmitta cycle. Yeah, Tani Ida, we have a similar braysa. When you finish giving maaser, shana she'ein ba'ela maaser echor. It's a year that there's only one maaser. Which maaser? Okay, it's not maaser rishon or maaser ani. It's maaser rishon and maaser ani. Or maaser sheni yivatel, and we push off the maaser sheni again, the 3rd and the 6th years. Yochalav maaser rishon nam yivatel. So you would think that you should push off the maaser rishon too. Tamalaymer uva Levi, and the Levi comes. Kolzman Shabbat 10 light. Whenever the Levi comes, give to him. That's what Rabbi Yehuda says. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Omer, ain't it so? You don't need to say that. Harei Omer ve'ela Levim tedaber. Same pasuk that we just said. And we compare giving the maaser to the Levi to inheritance. Just like inheritance doesn't have the hefsek, meaning somebody has to inherit. Maaser rishon also doesn't have a hefsek. It never gets stopped. Maaser rishon has to go for all 6 years. By the way, the 7th year has nothing. Right, the 7th year has nothing because there's no trumas and maasros during shmitta. This year, there's no trumas and maasros because everything's hefker, so nothing belongs to anybody. So therefore, there's no trumas and maasros. Fine. Then the Gemara says, yeah.
Why,
so we're good.
Why is a gzeira shava better than learning taich of a pasuk?
I mean, why did he say you don't need that?
Yeah.
Maybe they said that it's just his way of learning the pasuk.
No, but he's masking to it. He just says ain't it tzarich.
Ain't it tzarich. Yeah, I hear. I thought maybe ain't it tzarich means ain't it tzarich. You wouldn't need the pasuk for that.
Meaning he's learning that Rabbi Yehuda is a real drasha. The Baha Levi Kolzman Shabbat Telei. That's a drasha.
What do you say?
That Rabbi Yehuda is learning a drasha.
I think.
For Gzeira Shabbos is going to be a stronger drasha.
Yeah, I guess. You have another way?
Nope.
All right, so that's what we're going to go with. Everybody agree? Yeah. I hear, because usually you're right. Ain't it tzarich? A lot means like you don't need that extra word for that, right? That's what you're really asking. I hear. Kash is better than the teretz. Fine, okay, we'll learn nedarim. So it's for nedarim too. Now, what is nedarim? What does Rosh Hashanah have to do with nedarim? I mean, obviously we know we have to be mater neder before Rosh Hashanah, but that's not what it's referring to. If somebody says he makes a neder, he's not getting any hana from his friend for a year. So we had a similar Gemara a couple of blot ago. So if he says I'm not getting hana from my friend for a year, then he counts 12 months to the day. So if let's say today is Tes Zayin, tonight is Tes Zayin Cheshvan, and so he's not going to get hana till Tes Zayin Cheshvan of next year. Bim Omar Lishana Zu, but if he says for this year, then afilu loy Omar Ela be'esrim b'Tishrei b'Elul, even if he's only in the 29th day of Elul, let's say Kivin Shegiya Yom Echad b'Tishrei, also Lishana, since he reaches the first day of Tishrei, then that's it. That's a year. Meaning, if he says for this year, then even if it's just one day, that's it. That's enough. So
when you said for a year, you mentioned 12 months, and then you said the same day. What happens if it's an Iber year?
Oh, so that we had already before. There's a machlokes whether that's a machlokes whether that's my machlokes Rameir, and I forgot who else about whether it goes with the solar, right? If it goes 365, or do we go with the Jewish? Right.
Okay.
So that's a machlokes.
Was there no meaning about Taurus nedarim? Chavtes Elul? What happened here?
Was there no meaning of a Taurus nedarim? Maybe there was, and that's why you only get it for that day.
So it was after or before?
Maybe he did it after that Taurus nedarim. Maybe he did it after that Taurus nedarim. I hear. Right, so then the Gemara continues. Right, we had that machlokes also a couple of days ago. Right, it was a machlokes whether one day in a year is considered a year. So even here, even according to Mandam, it says that one day a year is not considered a year. The tzu'urei nafshei kabbalalei. All he was doing was to make himself pain. Right, he was making a neder that he doesn't want to get enough from his friend, so he wanted to put himself into pain. But it's starlei, and he caused himself pain. Right? It doesn't have to mean that he has pain for a year. So even the mandama that says one day a year is not enough for a year, for nedarim it is. Because when he made this neder, he was trying to cause himself pain, which he did. He caused himself one day of pain, and that's enough. So then what says Nissan?
Why do you need that svara for this? He said this year. What's this year?
You only need this svara, that even the one that says one day a year.
Yeah, but even according to him, it's still this year.
Yeah,
if I say 2021, if I say the year 2021,
he didn't say that.
The 31st of December.
He said this year doesn't have to. Could this year means for the entire year?
That he doesn't answer.
No, but that's the other. You still need to say one day a year is part of the year. According to the other sheet, it's just one day a year is part of the year. They're saying, but the mandama that says that one day a year is not normally part of the year, then that's
part of the year. It's just not. It's not going to be counted as a full year according to him. You don't say mix shana kashana unless it's 30 days. Here, we're not saying mix shana kashana. He said this year.
Correct, but here, obviously they're learning that you also need this svara that one day a year is considered a year.
I see that, but I don't understand why.
Yeah. Okay. I don't. Yeah. I hear. So anyway, so the Gemara says, Nissan. Who says it's Tishrei? Maybe it's Nissan. So by nedarim, by nedarim, the rule, the halacha by nedarim is we always go with when a person makes a neder, it's always with how did the people talk? So the people talk for this year. Most people consider Tishrei as the beginning of the year. Fine. Now that's for the nedarim. Now we're back to agriculture. Tanan Hahsem, we had him learned in the Mishna over there. Hatilson, our good old Fenugreek, whatever that is. I can't ever remember what that is. Fenugreek, right? That's for Rosh Hashanah. I guess that's why, right? That's the only time it comes out. So Fenugreek, when is Fenugreek chayav and maaser? Misha titzmach, once it sprouts, when it grows a little bit. The Gemara will say in a minute what that is. Hatfu of azesim and grain and olives, mishiviyu shlish, when it grows a third. Okay, so my misha titzmach, what does it mean when it sprouts? Misha titzmach lizroim, when the seeds sprout. Right? Meaning whenever Rashi says when it gets seeds, right? So once it gets seeds, then that's considered it's in its final stage, and therefore you're going to have to, if those seeds happen before Rosh Hashanah, then you're going to have to give it for the maaser from the previous year. If those seeds happen after Rosh Hashanah, then it's not going to be. So hatfu of azesim mishaviyu shlish. Grain and olives is when it brings a third. How do you know that when they grow a third, that's considered completed? So Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav Yochanan, Matuba Mishmei Rav Yosi Aglili. some say it's a Yosef. Lili Omar Kro, the pasuk says Miketz Sheva Shanim at the end of Shmita, the 7 years of Shmita, B'Mayid, Shnasa Shmita B'Chag HaSukkos. It's the year of Shmita and the Chag HaSukkos. So what is Shnasa Shmita doing with Chag HaSukkos? So Shnasa Shmita Maya Vidite B'Chag HaSukkos. What does Shmita have to do with Sukkos? So Gemara answers Shminasi. It's the 8th. Sorry, that's really part of the Kasha. Shminasi. It's the 8th year already, meaning it's saying at the end of 7 years of Shemitah, and then on Sukkot. That Sukkot is the 8th year, right? So what is it doing the pasuk? Ela loimer loch. It's coming to teach you. And we had this also a couple of blot ago. Kol tvua sheviyah shlish b'shviyas lefnei Rosh Hashanah. Any grain that grew a third before Rosh Hashanah, atanoy by minig shviyas b'shminis. You have to be noyig that you have to keep Shemitah until, and for even in the 8th year. Meaning, if stuff grows a third, vegetables grow a third during Shemitah, then you have to keep the halachas of Shemitah even in the 8th year. Meaning, you're allowed to pick it, but you have to keep things that have kedusha shviyas, right? So you're not allowed to throw it in the garbage. You're not allowed to do all that type of stuff, right? So Amalei Rav Zera Ravasi, we'll do a little bit so we won't get so stuck tomorrow. The Dilma loy ayil klal. Who says that it has to do with a third? The pasuk doesn't say anything about a third. You're saying that it's a third grown before Sukkot. The Dilma loy ayil klal. Maybe it didn't grow at all. The Kamar Rachmana tishamit, and the pasuk says, let it have shmita b'tezel ad chag Sukkot. That shmita goes until Sukkot. Who says anything about a third? So the Gemara answers, loy sagad. Don't think that. It says that at the Yom Tov of gathering, which is Sukkot, when the year goes out, my osif. So what does it mean gathering? If it means Sukkot, which comes at the time when everybody gathers their grains, it already says that it's a Yom Tov of ba'asvucha. When it talks about making your sukkah, it says ba'asvucha mikdancha yikvecha, right? Elamai asif, asif must mean katzir to gather. Okay, the kim lehu l'Rabanan. This is what we were discussing before, Simon. The kim lehu l'Rabanan, the chol tvua sheniktzera b'chag. If grain is ready to be cut down on Sukkot, b'yadua sheviyah shlish l'fnei Rosh Hashanah, then we know if it's already ripe enough to cut it down on Sukkot, then we know that it had to have been grown a third before Rosh Hashanah. The kakari law. Hashana, and that's why it's called at the end of the year. So that's how we know that it's a third. It's basically saying we know that if something's cut on Sukkot, we know that means that it had to have been a third, grown a third before Rosh Hashanah. So here we go.
I'm sorry. I thought Kitzir was Shavuos time. When we talk about Kitzir is Shavuos, we make it Tzir Chitim. We talk about Lo Sechaleh Pasach Chapigitzracha V'Leket Kitzir Lo Sechaleh.
That's
isn't that referring to?
That's the Omer. You talking about the Omer? Talking about the Omer?
I'm saying, isn't the time of gathering always considered Shavuos?
Well, that's Shavuos because it's not really Shavuos. It's really the second day Pesach when we cut down, right? Well, that's what we call it Omer, right? We cut down the carbon Omer comes from the first grains that we cut down, right? So that's true. I think that's true for barley,
and then Shavuos time is the wheat. Isn't that what they're celebrating?
What the Shtei Alechem? Yeah. So
isn't that what Boaz was doing that night?
Yeah. So I think what this is, but I think everything else grows. The growth is finished like Sukkot time, right? Sukkot is always referred to as Chag HaOsif, isn't it? Right? Chag HaOsif, may Osif be gone. Meaning, that's when I think also when they clear out the silos, that's when there's extra junk to make the schach out of, right? It's meaning they could take they could gather it all and put it into the storage house, the Shavuos time, but when they start actually using it before the winter. I think that's really what it is. The stuff grows and they put it away, and then before the winter, when they start getting it ready to be eaten, and then they start the whole process again. I think that's the way it goes. I think, but I'm not a working guy, so I don't know. I'm only a learning guy, so I can know all this. This gets back to what we were discussing before the daf started. But anyway, so here goes the kasha.
There's also two crops. There's a winter crop and a summer crop.
So I don't know if that's always. Is that always or only certain types?
Usually wheat has both. Today we have 3. Then they had 2.
Depends on where you are. It's not about crop.
That's true.
You have to reseed it. It doesn't grow naturally like a weed. You have to reseed it.
Yeah.
You can have a winter crop.
This
and a
did.
summer crop.
This is
What?
fichus we're talking about. This we're talking
Well,
about
that's sfichim. It's just
naturally.
automatic, right? That was automatic. That's
Right.
stuff that fell.
They're
Well, I
not.
don't know if this is sfichim. I guess this is sfichim. Yeah, this is sfichim. Yeah. So, anyways, here goes the kasha. Yes, so the kasha that everybody waits for to ask. So, Rav Yomi is the one that asks it. Did the rabbis really know the difference between how did they know that a vegetable grew a third or less than a third? Right? So anytime anybody asks this, you cannot call them an apikoros because Rav Yirmiyah asked the question, right? Here it is. It took us a bunch of hundreds of blocks into Shas to ask, do the rabbis really know what they're talking about? I mean, that's essentially what he's asking, right?
They just wanted to hide it to make sure the real guys can really get through the daf,
Yeah, maybe. So Amar Lei, so he said to him, but the answer is the answer is a pretty rough and tumble answer. Amar Lei, Lava Minalach, did I not tell you? Right? Don't put yourself outside from halacha. Right? Which is interesting. I don't know exactly how you fit that tight. Rashi says, don't ask questions on the Chachamim's measurements. Kol midas Chachamim keinhu. When the rabbis say a measurement, that's what it is. Right? And Rashi says, Metzumtzumus, it's exact. When the rabbis give a measurement, it's exact. He didn't give an answer how they know this. He's just saying, don't question the rabbis. The rabbis know. Finished. Yeah? So then he goes through a bunch of examples. Barbaim sa hu toivel. We know that you have to toivel in a mikvah that has 40 sa. Barbaim sa chaser kurtav. Eina yachal litvovim. 40 sa minus a kurtav, which is it's a very small amount, right? Rashi is an extremely small amount. You go into a mikvah slightly less, you're no good. Kibetza metama tumas eichlin, where we know food becomes tamei if it's the size of an egg. It's metama other things. Kibetza chaser shumshum, if it's an egg minus a seed, a sesame seed, ain't a metama tumas eichlin. It's not going to be metama. Shloisha al shloisha metama medras, 3 tvachim by 3 tvachim. The medras tuma, which that has to do with people sitting on it. If they sit on something, it automatically becomes tamei, even if they don't touch it. That has to be 3 tvachim by 3 tvachim. If it's missing even one thread, ain't a matama medras. It's not matama medras, right? So he said everything is exact. So therefore, don't question it. He doesn't really answer the question. He's just saying don't question it. So I guess we'll stop here. But the mashal that they use in the kiruv, because this question obviously gets asked a lot by, how did they know exactly? What does it make it? The question more asked is, what does it make a difference? If it's one little dot, that doesn't make a difference. So then the mashal, that's one of the kiruv that they use is so you tell somebody a website and you tell them www.whatever.com. And the guy says, I went on and I can't find it. So the guy says, because you do www.comma. You have to do www. So the guy says, what? That tiny little bit of ink makes a difference of me getting to the website? Yes, it does, right? You can type comma.com from today till tomorrow. You're not going to get the right amount. So that's what it is. When the Chacham said you got to do something, you got to do something. And that's don't question the measurements. Okay, so we threw a little bit of maaser in there too. Fine. So tomorrow.
I need that maaser for the day. I missed it.
But that's two separate things, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, we'll stop here. So tomorrow, 5:15, Bez Hashem. Yeah. All right. Have a good night. What are you saying, Simon?
By them setting measurements, that's one thing. But them understanding what a third is of a plant growing is a completely another thing. One, there's a knowledge that they have to know. The other one of saying, well, if it was minus the sesame seed, that's them setting protocol, right?
Right. See, right. So that's right. Which are you asking basically that the teretz is not answering his question? Is that what you're saying? Because that's what's bothering me.
Yeah, they wind around it. Sorry, I said that prior, but it just kind of like, no, we're not answering that question.
Right. It doesn't. He asked, do they really know? Right. That was his question. Do the Rabbanim know? So he said the Rabbanim, it's exact. So I think the teretz is that what he was telling them.
It doesn't have it's not an exact measurement. A sesame seed of whatever, right? It's not an exact measurement, but you're not dealing with something tangible when it comes to kedusha and tahara, right? To mantara,
right?
Something like understanding what a third is of a plant. That's a knowledge almost island. Anyone should, theoretically, everyone should know that. Dealing with that, at that time period, they were an agricultural society.
It's interesting you say that, because till you just said it, I didn't realize that the examples that they use are all Torah and Torah related.
It's not
except
tangible.
For the third of the wheat, except for the third of the size of the wheat. And that's
right. No, so that's what's in right. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Easy. Is the question, how do they know a third is the measurement, or how do they know when?
How do they know? From what I took, at least, the Gemara is asking, how do the Rabanan know where a third is? There's
That's easy.
Milestones.
That's easy.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. There's milestones that that it's hit.
No, because they're not picking the wheat until it's fully grown. So the day that the last day of the year, they can tie a string to it and say this is the height, or they could stick a stick at the same height, and then when it's fully grown, they'll know if it was a third at that point, what the status is. That's the easy part. The question I have is, how do they know that a third is the right measurement? How do we know it's not a quarter? How do we know it's not half? How do we know?
So that seems to be what he's answering. The question was, the way Rashi understands the question, he says, are they such bekiim? The question sounds that he was asking, do they really know that it grew a third? Which you're saying that they could know, they could have known. That seems like that's what he was asking. And the answer was, they clearly
have a Messiah.
No, but you're right. He was answering them more that they decided on measurements, and anything less doesn't meet it, which doesn't seem to answer the question. Which I think,
because they're measuring. You're talking about measuring something tangible versus something non-tangible.
Right. So I think that the pshat is that what the Mefarshim say is that what he's saying is that clearly by the Tumah and Tara, you see that the Chachamim said that there's 40 saw and anything less is no good. Now, I would say, like, okay, what's a big deal? You went into the mikveh, you were covered head to toe, you're good to go, right? But the Rabbanim say no. So clearly they have a way of knowing that this works and this doesn't. So Memela, since they know, they obviously have something. They didn't just make a random amount of things with Tom and Tara.
It's knowledge.
They know something about it. So therefore they must know measurements about vegetables too.
By saying a third, that's not while it is technically exact, when it comes to it, when it's a third of the time that, or a third of the maturity or whatever it is, that's a knowledge though. That's a serious knowledge that they're getting. That is a maasros in a sense. That's a collective knowledge.
Right, I hear.
They know it. It's like where your svarim are, where the svarim are in your father's utensil, right? You probably could go, yeah, right.
No, but okay.
But theoretically, I could tell you where all my svarim are, right?
Right.
I could tell you where everyone is. So if that was the case, it's like a knowledge. Like it's just part of who you are. It's not a. They just knew these things. It was something we don't know it anymore. But I could tell you any farmer out here knows what type of cow is going to give birth to what type of cow, right? And what type of grain is going to be grown. And well, there's the storms are coming just by licking their finger and figuring out where the wind's blowing. That type of deal. they know these things because it's been ingrained in them.
Right. Okay, so no pun intended.
Very good.
I hear. The problem is, this is tomorrow's daf, so I haven't seen any of the paraphernalia coming out from all the. So I gotta wait to see tomorrow if there's any good pshatim in this. Jump the gun.
If I could just point out that nobody else, unless they had a red beard, is getting involved here.
Oh, very good.
I am.
It happens to be my top line, by the way. It's Gavaldic. Shinjis unite.
It's the redheads. The redheads are dominating.
The last time I learned this Gemara, I learned it slightly differently. There's another Musaf out here.
Yeah.
Rabbi Yirmiyah asked the question, how did they know the Metzias? Were they farmers? That's basically what he asked. And Rabbi Zera's answer is basically that your question is not really a question, it's an answer. What's the nafkamina that can come out of this question? It's not a shaila, it's a kasha. The only thing that can come out is you're saying, okay, so the Rabanan are wrong. That makes you an apikairis. So he gave them a list of shiurim. This is it. This is halakha. You want to know halakha? This is halakha. You want to ask a kasha on the Rabanan? That's wrong. You can't do that.
Okay.
He deliberately didn't answer the question.
But why didn't he call him an apikaris at that point? He said, "Go."
Why didn't he?
What?
Why did he or didn't he? He didn't call him an apikaris.
Why didn't he? I'm assuming in the Gemara, even though they use a terse language, would have thrown in the fact that he's calling him an apikaris.
I don't think he did. He's teaching him not to ask such questions.
Well, you see, he himself, the next Gemara, he himself changes his mind. So, right? Okay, but I got somebody waiting for me, so I'm going to sign off. But you're welcome. The redheads are welcome to fight this out. I'm the odd man out anyway. So
we're all on the same page. No worries.
All right.
Yaakov the White. Zag is it.
I got this the last time I learned this, I was learning in Kol Halacha with a chavrusa of mine, and booked at the same time. I was close with a couple of Bali Chula, and whatever, we were having a session, and one of them asked me, according to those who say that the world is only 5,000 whatever years old, how do you answer dinosaur bones? So there's a number of ways to answer the question. I wasn't getting into it with him, but I mentioned it to my chavrusa the next day, and he turns to me and he says, I don't understand. Just ignore it. It's not Nageya. Who cares? I don't care what the answer is. Does it change your day-to-day life? Does it change the way you have to live as a yid? It doesn't answer anything.
Well, so the answer to that is, right, the shlug of that is, different people are hooked on different things. You and I, we're going to be like, whatever. But certain people...
No, but that's true. But the conversation with them is supposed to gear them. The entire conversation is I guess, essentially, they're relying on me to gear them towards Torah. So the question that they ask has nothing to do with Torah. Wow, dinosaur bones. There's no shaykhus to Torah. It's completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
You could happily live your life without speaking about dinosaur bones for the entire rest of your life. It's an answer. It's not a question. I'm trying to prove you wrong.
I really wouldn't see it as an answer. I mean, different backgrounds. If someone would have come to me at that time when I was, going through whatever I was going through, and I had that question, pulled that shtick, I would have been like, "You're a numbnuts." I wasn't asking you what your thoughts were on it. I was asking because it's something that I'm trying to find some clarity, and whether that clarity is on like a little.
I would never have said it that way to you.
I'm saying
the
like,
point, yeah,
I mean, I'm smart enough to have gone back and forth, right? But like, the thought, I would have felt, especially, whatever. I definitely would have felt like if someone had answered that to me, then like, it wasn't the right answer. There's gonna be people who, sure, whatever.
Okay.